CRIM 1030, Professionalism. Think about what professionalism means to you and what you can actually consider to be unprofessional. For our purposes, professionalism is the conduct, so that is the values and attitude and actions that are expected from a well-trained person. So that person is expected to have skill, good judgment. They're expected to be ethical, polite. Okay, that person performs tasks with integrity. So integrity is essentially the quality of being honest. Professionalism is extremely important in the forensic sciences. In fact, your success depends on your reputation. Okay, so perception is key. Are you perceived to be professional? Understand that being professional relates to the person and not necessarily the job title, because we can see bad actors in every aspect of any kind of job, essentially. And understand that professionalism is not just about getting the qualifications. And I realize that most of you may not go into the forensic sciences, but the tips that I'm going to give you for success are applicable in any real world scenario and in your other courses as well too. So obviously professionalism is very important. It will affect your likelihood of being hired, and then once you are hired, it will affect how likely you are to be promoted. So I'm going to be going through a poll that was done. It was done in the United States, and they polled a whole bunch of employers, and they found that actually 98% of employers stated that their assessment of how professional an applicant will be on the job has an effect on the hiring decision. Probably not a big surprise. Okay, and more than 50% say actually the entire hiring decision is based on that particular applicant's assessment, on their assessment of that applicant's ability to be professional. So employers' assessments of an applicant's potential to be professional focused most often on the person's communication skills, on their demeanor or their attitude, and their appearance. But understand that these traits are not necessarily specific to the job that you have. Okay, these can be applied broadly to most aspects in university or on any job. The job-related factors, so for example, such as that person's ability to answer questions and their job knowledge, was actually much less important than the tools of assessment for professionalism itself. So think about, why is professionalism important now in your university career, right? It's very important because you might need a reference for a job or for grad school. And of course, opportunities. Those students that are perceived to be more professional will get the opportunities like grading positions or volunteering or internships, all that kind of stuff. Are you going to be more likely to be accepted or be chosen because you are professional? These employers talked about the role of higher education. So we're going to talk about why is learning professionalism important in university? Well, first of all, almost all employers believe that universities should in fact prepare students to be professional regardless of that student's field of study. These employers fully understand the benefits of being a university graduate, okay? Um, you know, so they totally understand that. Over 3/4 of employers stated that university graduates are more likely to exhibit professional behavior versus newly hired high school grads. But part of the reason may be that, of course, university graduates are a little bit older and more mature and have more life experiences. The most frequently offered suggestions or recommendations of what a university should do to foster professionalism in students includes fostering a professional attitude or demeanor, like I'm doing here, right? Developing an understanding of professionalism, which is why we have this component, and developing communication and interpersonal skills. They also talk about offering internships and hands-on experience. Um, so obviously, you know, the main problem that they cite actually when they hire new graduates in their first year on the job is that they feel that graduates are getting less and less and less professional. And they feel that there's a lack of professionalism and it is declining. And the main reason for that decline is because of an increased sense of entitlement. So, entitlement was defined in the survey as expecting rewards without putting in the work or effort to merit those rewards. In other words, expecting just because they got the job, okay, that they should automatically, move up to the next level. It takes time, okay? You have to understand that, there is a hierarchy and people have been there obviously before you. And it's very important to practice humility when you come into a new situation. So characteristics of employees that these employers said, so they were asked an open-ended question, and employers described 3 traits or behaviors that characterize a professional and an unprofessional employee. And so the most often mentioned traits or behaviors of a professional employee were personal interaction or interpersonal skills. Okay, the ability to communicate, in other words, practicing active listening. Having a good work ethic. Okay, personal appearance. And having a sense of self combined with self-confidence and self-awareness. And so these are given to you in the order that they found most important. So having, basically being a nice person and being able to interact with people easily, okay, is the number one thing. Now, interestingly, the unprofessional ones, the most frequently cited unprofessional traits or behaviors were personal appearance, especially including inappropriate attire, poor communication skills, including poor grammar, poor work ethic, which we're going to be talking about in length in a minute, poor attitude, being disrespectful and inconsiderate, and having a sense of entitlement. So understand that employers do not necessarily expect recent graduates to be experts in their field, as many prefer to train new employees on the job. But what they do expect from you is to act professionally. So let's start with the first unprofessional thing, which is personal attire. So we're going to start with the first thing that people see and unfortunately judge you on. So unfortunately, people judge others on their appearance. That is very much, first impressions. They say that they're very important. So in court and in work, in a forensic science aspect, you are expected to be well groomed, simple, understated. Your clothes should be a proper size. They should be clean and pressed. Your hair, uh, that includes face hair and head hair, need to be neat and tidy. Your makeup needs to be light. They also recommend avoiding perfume and cologne. There's a number of reasons for that. First of all, it is a very big asthma and migraine trigger, and so that's usually a pretty bad no-no. And most workplaces have, um, I guess, stipulations in place where they ask people not to use perfume and cologne. The other thing is, if you're in a court situation, and that could actually trigger something in your jury. So, say for example, you're presenting evidence in court and you have a lot of certain kind of perfume on, that could bring back bad memories for someone, and then they're less likely to actually listen to what you're saying. I know it seems crazy, but it is in fact a thing. Avoid jewelry, or keep it really understated. Logos and pins and stuff like that. It's probably best not to have that, just because, again, there might be some bad association with that particular place. Like, for example, if you wore a U of T pin on your lapel and you were uh, giving evidence in court, maybe someone had a bad experience with it, right? You don't want to show your affiliations, you want to appear neutral. Tattoos and piercings, well, we could probably have a long talk about this. These unfortunately were specifically mentioned as unprofessional. I'm hoping that things are changing. I remember when I first moved to Ontario, people seemed very uptight about this, and I come from BC, where basically everybody and their grandma has got tattoos and piercings, and so it's a very normal thing, and you probably couldn't hire someone who didn't have tattoos and piercings necessarily. Um, a personal story, my husband has tattoos and piercings. He's got a nose ring. He's had it since he was, for I think probably 40 years now, longer, and he never takes it out. And he has full sleeve tattoos as well too. And I know he started work for this one guy, and the guy's like, "You need to take your nose ring out." And he's like, "Nope, not doing it." He's like, "No, I'm not. I'm not gonna do it." "Oh no, you need to." And he's like, "No, I'm not going to." He said, "They will come to soon realize, if they're going to judge me, they will come soon to realize that I'm a very, um, I'm a very good uh, purveyor of my craft, and that alone should, you know, be the deciding factor as to whether that you want me in your house or not." But I mean, he says he has showed up to the door sometimes in the summertime, and people kind of have a heart attack seeing this big guy with a nose ring and full sleeve tattoos sometimes, but he doesn't cover them. Here's the thing: if you're good at your job, you know what you're doing. Shouldn't make any difference. But I mean, older people will tend to judge sometimes. Okay, in the field, we are expected to wear Tyvek, like you see in the bottom picture there. That's the white suit. Your hair and your hair needs to be tucked away. Your jewelry should be tucked away as well too, or take it off. You need to have empty pockets, and again, no logos. When you're working on a site, oftentimes there's TV cameras there, so you want to remain neutral. The other thing is that if you have stuff in your pockets and it falls out of your pockets, you're contaminating a crime scene. So that's not permitted. And then, of course, in the lab, um, you need to be wearing a lab coat and other kinds of protective gear like a mask or possibly eye protection as well too. Okay, now we're going to talk about some of the main aspects of professionalism, the ones that are most important. We're going to be talking about having a growth mindset, having a strong work ethic. We're going to talk about active listening, which is the most essential part of communication. And we're going to talk about building trust. Things are going to be different. Maybe you're in a different discipline. Maybe you're doing nursing or something like that, where, trust might be the most important thing. Okay, growth mindset. This is also very important for doing well in university. Those people with the growth mindset embrace challenge. They see failure as an opportunity to grow and develop abilities. Okay, failing is a part of learning. It's an absolutely imperative part of learning. Without that, you don't learn very much, right? Having a growth mindset means you believe that your success depends on time and effort. That is the time and effort that you put into it. Truer words have never been spoken, right? Effort is absolutely crucial for developing skills and becoming smarter. People with a growth mindset feel their skills and intelligence can be improved with effort and persistence versus those people with a fixed mindset that believe intelligence and talent are static and avoid challenges to protect their perceived abilities. Okay, those with a growth mindset learn through feedback. Okay, so learning through feedback means those with a growth mindset welcome constructive criticism as vital information for improvement, because it is. You have to put your feelings aside. You have to not worry about it. Someone is giving you feedback because they want you to do better. Okay? Understand that mistakes are opportunities to learn. Okay? Show resilience. Persist through the setbacks and the obstacles. Bounce back from failure by trying new strategies or working harder, not by giving up. I see a lot of giving up. Okay? And this could be a generational thing. I don't know. And there are times when you should certainly give up. Okay? But you do need to learn to persist through the setbacks and the obstacles, because there will be plenty that come through your life. Okay? Be inspired by the success of others. See the success of others as a source of inspiration, not a threat. Okay, that's growth mindset. Very important for doing well in university and in life in general. So we have quite a few slides on having a strong work ethic, but what does having a good or a strong work ethic means? Well, first of all, it means being accountable. This is extremely important, the most important thing. So people who have a strong work ethic take ownership of their work, its outcomes, and fix their errors. Okay, you do not blame others or make excuses. This shows an inability to take control of the situation. And in fact, the most important quality when considering a person for a position requiring professionalism is if that person accepts personal responsibilities for their decisions and actions. So when I do interviews for students to get into policing, one of the things that is asked is, can this person take responsibility for their own actions? Okay, very important. The other thing that they ask, does this person ask for help? Okay, when they need it. That's a very important thing. Okay, they don't want people who can't ask for help because that's not going to work out in a policing situation, okay, where you need to also rely on other people. Integrity and honesty, which means you are going to act ethically, you're going to admit your mistakes, and you are trustworthy in all dealings. Okay, it also means you're going to communicate honestly. Okay, you're going to make promises and then keep those promises. You want to support your organization's values. You want to give credit where credit is due, and you certainly want to respect the privacy of other people. Okay, all of those things go to strong work ethic and being a person of integrity and honesty. Very important, and very important in the forensic sciences, is collaboration. Can you work well with other people and value teamwork of other people in order to achieve shared goals? Understand that your success in this world is based on your ability to work productively with other team members. There are very, very, very few jobs, and I can't even think of any, that you can just work alone and not have to answer to anybody else, and you always have to be able to get along with other people. Okay, you need to be able to support other people. You need to be able to share the spotlight. Understand that each team member provides something, some kind of unique asset, skill, or requirement that other team members do not have. Okay, being a team player shows great personal strength. Okay, that makes you an invaluable employee. Okay, managers do not want to deal with conflict. Maybe you are a manager, right? Employers look to team players to help build a friendly office culture, which helps retain employees and in turn attracts top talent. Like you want great places to work, right? Understand that no one person can solve the problem. You may come up with a solution, but with peer input, you could have come up with something even better. You know, that saying, 2 heads are always better than 1. You have to be able to work through the issues. Just like in forensic science, no one piece of evidence on its own is going to solve the case. So what are the consequences of not being able to collaborate with people? Well, it's absolutely imperative. You're not going to be asked to participate as an expert witness. You might get hired on a job, but it'll be temporary, because really, what good are you as an employee if nobody wants to work with you? So you're going to get passed over for promotion. Those with a strong work ethic are disciplined and focused, stay on task, always manage distractions, work diligently without needing constant supervision. Really importantly, manage those distractions. So we, as you can see in the little infographic here, the phone is a big one. Okay, always maintain your focus on work and school. Try to keep your work and your private life separate. I know sometimes it's not always possible to do that, but do try to attend to personal matters at home. One of the most common reasons why people get fired from jobs is IT misuse on the job. So that is the excessive use of social media and personal cell phone usage during work hours, texting during inappropriate times, okay, inappropriate internet use, like you're looking at things that are not appropriate for a workplace, okay, and the unauthorized access of company files. In other words, you're going in places where you shouldn't be going, okay? Be sure to keep your work and your social media separate. There's not many times that I hear of people where they call in sick and then they post pictures of themselves like sitting on the beach, and somebody's going to find out. Not being disciplined and focused shows an inability, of course, to focus on a task, and it shows a lack of dedication to school and work. That's why it's really important when you are listening to the lecture or something like that to put your phone away and concentrate on one thing. There's a great article in the New York Times that says, "We are really bad at multitasking." Okay, having a strong work ethic means you are reliable and punctual. It means you meet deadlines, you follow through with your promises. Okay, be consistently on time. Okay, lateness puts your dependability into doubt, and really it inconveniences other people. Okay, being punctual shows respect. You're not inconveniencing others. That's whether you join a class late or whether you're at work. So, for example, you have a shift change for work, um, and you've somebody else can't leave their job until you show up. University, coming late to lecture is disruptive to the other students and also to the instructor. Being punctual goes to trust and reliability. Okay, submitting your work on time. So another question that I'm asked often when I do an interview for the police is, has this person ever submitted anything late? Okay, they actually ask me that. Okay, so that's why it's really important to submit your work on time. Sometimes life gets in the way, and for that reason, make sure that you request a special permission to submit. Okay, time management, um, effectively prioritizing tasks, planning your work, balancing your workloads, getting work done beforehand so you can come and get feedback, being willing to work the hours necessary to get the job done. Okay, and having a very clear sense of direction and purpose, which goes to being organized. Okay, employers are also looking for people who, of course, show initiative. So that is people who proactively look for ways to improve processes or help others going beyond the minimum requirements. Okay, here we see a lovely example of dude who did not move the tree to the side when they were painting the road. Okay, like that. This shows that it's like, oh, that's not my job. That's not my job. Okay, well, that kind of goes to showing initiative in a job. Really important to this is being able to be flexible and adaptable. Things don't always go as planned, and instead of digging in your heels, you need to be able to pivot and find alternative solutions. Employers are also looking for people that think and act independently. When something goes wrong, you can either complain or you can take action. Companies rely on problem solvers to navigate unexpected challenges. Okay, companies need critical thinkers who bring a fresh perspective and offer intuitive solutions and ideas to help the company get a leg up on the competition or to improve some kind of internal processes. Okay, show quality in work. That is a commitment to excellence, paying attention to detail, which will also be very important in this course, and taking pride in producing high quality work. Lastly, maintaining a positive attitude. It's very important that you do not complain or gossip. That will get you branded as being a negative person. Okay, this is about interpersonal skills. People don't want to be dragged down by your stuff, right? It's really important to think before speaking. Remember, there is always someone listening. Okay, Mind your audience. Do not overshare. Sometimes I will overshare, and that's because I'm trying to teach some kind of lesson. Like, listen to the dumb thing that I did, right? So sometimes I will. Respect your colleagues. Treat other people as you would like to be treated, as I mentioned before when we're talking about email. Okay? Uh, be considerate of other people's time. People are very much, time is money. So you have to be concise. What being concise shows in your email or anything that you do, it shows that you're prepared and that you have taken the time to find the facts and the most important aspects. And so this is in all kinds of different aspects, in email, in your written work, in the interaction with other people. Okay? Being respectful means understanding and respecting the hierarchy. It's really important to address people appropriately. It shows respect. These people have worked and earned the position or the title. Okay? Find out. Okay? I am not Mrs. Madam Miss. I am Dr. Wood. Okay? This is something that I have achieved. I've been talking to many female colleagues, and I had one female colleague tell me, yeah, she's like, we were in a meeting. We were all, we all had our PhD, and the person who was talking to us basically referred to all of the men in the room by doctor and then referred to me by my first name. Extremely rude and disrespectful. Okay, that's not cool at all. Respect life experience. If you don't, you're going to be guilty of sexism, maybe even ageism. Okay, and of course, it's really important, respectfully, that you communicate effectively. We're going to talk a little bit more about this when we talk about communication, right? So the communication is a whole thing. Okay, communication, it's in itself is too broad of a topic for using for your professionalism comment. So you need to be more specific. So what is the most important essential aspect, or the most essential aspect of communication? Well, most people assume because they can talk, they can communicate. This is not true. Yes, of course, you must be competent in both verbal and written communication because they set the tone for how people perceive you. The most important aspect, okay, talking is not communicating, active listening. Absolutely the most important aspect. You must be able to take the time to listen. You're going to listen to understand and to learn. Active listening allows you to achieve the highest success because you truly understand the task or the problem at hand. Okay, so you actually need to communicate. Do not assume anything. Don't be afraid to ask, okay, the source of the information. Right? I hate this. I'm walking down the hallway and I can hear a student saying, she wants this and she wants that. And I know they're talking about me. And I'm like, well, she's right here. Just ask me. Right? If there's something that's, instead they go on WhatsApp, and then that's like playing the telephone game where you will whisper something in somebody's ear, and by the time it comes out the other end, it's completely incorrect, right? Okay, always ask the source of the information. Don't assume. Okay, if something is causing you anxiety, come and talk to me. Let me know. It's like you're not quite understanding something. So the consequences for failing to listen are extensive. First of all, the job is not going to get done properly and the problem is not going to get solved. You're going to have misunderstandings. Misunderstandings can make things even worse. And even worse than that sometimes is if you can't actively listen to someone, you are going to be perceived as self-important. Okay? These are all not good things for interpersonal skills, right? So active listening is the most important aspect of communication, hands down. Okay, and a very good topic for your professionalism content. So there are ways that you practice active listening. I'm going to go through those right now. Pay attention. actually pay attention. Give the speaker your undivided attention and acknowledge the message that they're trying to convey to you. Recognize that also nonverbal communication speaks loudly. So look at the speaker directly. Fleeting glances might show insecurity or indifference. Put aside your distracting thoughts, okay? Don't mentally prepare a rebuttal. You're not listening, okay? When you do that, listen to that person's body language. Okay, so for example, if they take a step back, they might be perceiving you as being aggressive. If they take a step forward, they might be having trouble hearing you. Maintain personal space. Give everybody a comfortable separation. You probably have all been in conversations with somebody who just starts getting too close to you and it starts to make you nervous. It can be seen as being aggressive. Okay? Do not mentally prepare a rebuttal. A lot of people they're not even listening to what you're saying. They're just trying to like mentally prepare some kind of answer. No, that's not what active listening is. It is not important. Okay? You need to actually listen to what that person is saying and you need to show them that you're listening. So refrain from side conversations when you're listening in a group setting. That's quite rude. Okay? Show that you are listening. Use your own body and gestures to convey your attention. Okay? You can nod occasionally, you can smile, you can use other facial expressions. Note your posture. Make sure it's open, inviting. So sometimes I sit in lecture and I see people just being very not open to what's being said. They've got their arms across their chest and they're resisting what you're saying. Okay, so you're not open to being what is said when you have that kind of posture. Encourage the speaker to continue with small verbal comments like yes, uh-huh. Okay, be aware of your facial expressions. If you are talking and your brow is furrowing or their brow is furrowing, that might be a bit of a problem, okay? It might mean that they're misunderstanding or they're trying to understand what it is that what it is you're saying. Fidgeting makes you look scattered and unsure of yourself, and it actually distracts the person that you're speaking to. Okay, so always use your body language to convey attention to that particular person. Okay, provide feedback. So our personal filters, assumptions, judgments, and beliefs can distort what we hear. And so as a listener, our role is to understand what is being said. And we do that by reflecting what is being said and asking questions. You reflect by paraphrasing. You say things like, what I'm hearing is, and it sounds like you're saying, okay, ask questions to clarify certain points. What do you mean when you say this? Is this what you mean? Okay, summarize the speaker's comments periodically. If you find yourself responding emotionally to what someone said, ask for more information. Okay, say things like, I may not be understanding you correctly, and I find myself taking what you said to me personally. So what I thought you just said is X. Is that what you mean? So ask for clarification. Defer judgment. Interrupting is a waste of time. It frustrates the speaker and limits full understanding of the message. Allow the speaker to finish. Don't interrupt with counter arguments. Okay? And then you can respond appropriately. Active listening is a model for respect and understanding as you're trying to gain information and perspective. You add nothing by attacking or otherwise putting the speaker down. Okay? That's not going to help you at all. I listen to solve a problem. Okay? I'd listen to that person because I want to be able to solve whatever issue it is that they have in a fair way. Okay? Being fair to everyone. It's very important that you are candid and open and honest in your response. and that you assert your opinions respectively. Again, treat the other person as you would want to be treated. Okay, the last thing that I'm going to talk about is building trust. So in things like social work, nursing, any kind of doctoring kind of stuff, it's really important that you have that trust. And so the definition of trust is that you are choosing to risk making something you value. So for, say, in university purposes, your grade and your GPA, right? Vulnerable to another person's actions. So say you're doing group work, okay? You choose to be vulnerable to another person's actions because you believe that you can accomplish something worthwhile together that you could not have done alone. I'm sure you've heard the saying, trust is a two-way street. It is, right? It requires being trustworthy and, of course, trusting wisely. The choice to trust consists of four distinct assessments about how someone is likely to act. And those four assessments are care, sincerity, reliability, and competence. We'll start with care. So, care that is the assessment, okay, of that person, that you have the other person's interest in mind as well as yours when you make decisions and take actions. Okay, this is the most important aspect for building lasting trust in any relationship. Okay, so that is, you have other people's interest in mind as well as your own when you make decisions. When people think you are only concerned with your own self-interest and don't consider theirs, they may limit their trust of you in certain situations. Okay, sincerity. Sincerity is the assessment that you are honest, that what you say what you mean, and you mean what you say, and you can be believed and taken seriously. It also means when you express an opinion, okay, that opinion is valid, it's useful, and it's backed up by sound thinking and evidence. Okay, being sincere means your actions align with your words. Okay, building trust also relies on reliability. Reliability is the assessment that you meet the commitments you make and that you keep your promises. Okay, competence is the last one. Competence is the assessment that you have the ability to do what you are doing or propose to do. Okay, or if you don't, you recognize the gaps in your knowledge and that you need to learn and research. In the workplace, this means that others believe you have the requisite capacity, skill, and knowledge and resources to do a particular task or job. So no, under no circumstance should you fake it. If you don't know what you're doing, you need to be open and honest about that, okay? And you need to fill in those gaps. If you have any questions, please send me an email or come to office hours.